This is a trigger warning before I get into this video because I'm going to be talking about SA that happened to me whenever I was a child. This photo was taken by the man who was sexually assaulting me for about 3 years. I had no connection to him. He ended up he was a family friend at that point. And during that time, I was scared to reach out to the people I knew who would protect me. Because I was scared that if I reached out to them and they ended up telling my mom wouldn't believe me and my sisters would still get put in that situation. And I was also scared about that person getting hurt, even though I had no real relationship, kin to them. I was still scared to get them in trouble. I want to talk about this because the person that was sexually assaulting me was actually the person who was taking me to church at the time. Now, I've spoken about how my mom is a Wiccan, and whenever I was growing up, if we asked to go to church, she would take us to church, but I was always scared to ask because I felt like it was a nuisance to ask her to get up early on Sunday morning to take me to church. So one of the reasons why I did keep it quiet so long is because I was able to go to church. I wanted to go to church, but in order to go to church, while I was at my mom's, I was having to get sexually assaulted. Now, this did lead to some church hurt because whenever church was letting out, I would be looking around at all the men and thinking, how many of y'all are doing this to a little girl too? It made me not want to trust the church. It made me not want to rely on the church. And in turn, it also made me look at God like, why would you let one of your people do this? I now know that that wasn't one of God's people. I now know that that was a wolf in sheep's clothing. But at that time, I didn't. And what brought me out of that wasn't people sitting me down and telling me, well, that's not a God's people. That's not God. It was the men who showed up and showed me. And I'm making this to remind everyone in the church that how you react, how you act to people in sin, to people who seem like they have been hurt by God, determines whether they turn to God or not. Because 9 times out of 10, the reason why the person is living in sin and refusing to go to God is because they've had people who claim to be Christians hurt them in a way that is unfathomable to people who are actually of God. So when you run into somebody at church, remember, you don't know their story.